So what's the difference between fat burning and fat loss? You're gonna find out today. Let's go. Hi, I'm Alex. I'm a sports dietitian, nutrition coach. Welcome to my channel. Great to have you here. So everyone seems to be looking for the quickest way to lose weight, the best way to burn fat, the greatest exercises to shed belly fat, and every which way question in between. It's safe to say that fat loss is a very common goal in the health and fitness space. Yet it's the one where there's so many misconceptions, so many myths, and so many incorrect ways of interpreting how to actually achieve it, that it makes the whole nutrition world feel just a bit more murky. And that's where we come to the topic of fat burning versus fat loss. Two things that can be linked, but are very much different, that kind of get convoluted together and leads to many people following the wrong advice that doesn't actually lead them to achieve the goals they set out to achieve. And that is why today I'm going to tell you the exact definition of what fat burning is and what fat loss is, so you understand the differences and can actually know what the right process, what the right strategies are that you can incorporate into your life to achieve your fat loss results. But first, we've got to look at weight loss versus fat loss. Okay, so you're probably wondering, okay, why are we even talking about weight loss versus fat loss? Isn't that the same? What are we wasting time on that? I want to know what fat burning is and what the difference is to fat loss. Hold up, there is reasons to this. While weight loss is the universally known and most commonly used phrase or term when describing the loss of your body fat and getting leaner or getting shredded, so to speak, it is actually different to fat loss itself. And you want to know the slight differences, even if it's just semantics at this point. So weight loss is the unidentified loss of body mass. That could be from body fat, obviously. That could also be from losing muscle. It could be losing fluid weight as well. Or it could be from going to the bathroom and losing weight that way. And even more drastic things like the loss of bone mass density. So in other words, weight loss is more of like the universal term that we tend to use, but it's not really specific. There are people that lose weight, but they don't actually achieve the required fat loss that they're trying to achieve. And fat loss, as we know, is specifically the loss of body fat. It's the goal that most, 99% of people that are trying to lose weight, they're trying to lose body fat. So there is a distinction. I just wanted you to know that even if it is nitpicky, I wanted you to know the difference between general weight loss and the actual specific goal of fat loss, which is what you are very likely trying to achieve. Okay, now that that's done, let's get into fat burning. Okay, I'm going to keep this simple. Fat burning is the layman's terms for what's called fat oxidation. And fat oxidation is the breakdown of your fatty acids in the body to be used as fuel. In other words, think of it as taking out the fat from the fatty acids to then be able to be used as fuel. So fatty oxidation, fat breakdown, fat burning, it's all kind of much of the same. It's just different ways of saying the same thing. Okay, Mr. Alexa, so that means that fat burning equals fat loss, right? Because we're breaking down the fat, so it's fat loss, surely. Not exactly. Let me explain. So while it is true that when you are losing weight from fat, okay, when you are actually achieving fat loss, you are gonna have done that through the oxidation of fat, like it's part of the process. However, the confusion lies in the belief that just because there's fat oxidation going around, there's just fat kind of mobilizing in the body, that will lead to weight loss through fat loss. And that is not exactly true, not every time at least. Fat burning in itself does not mean fat loss necessarily. And that's the fundamental truth you need to know, okay? It does not equal fat loss. What dictates whether fat burning actually leads to fat loss is, at the end of the day, something that you probably knew going into this but didn't want to hear. It's being in a calorie deficit. Calories are still king here. Doesn't matter if you're doing, getting more fat burning in your body, which we'll talk about in a second, it will not equal fat loss unless your calories are right where they need to be, which is in a calorie deficit. And this is the issue here, because the belief that fat burning equals fat loss has led to many diets being touted as these fat loss solutions, when in actual fact, they're either no more superior than traditional strategic nutrition dieting, whatever you want to call it, or it's led to unhealthy practices or misinformation, such as, for example, the promotion of fat burner supplements And that's the issue here, because people associate fat burning, marketing then goes fat burning equals fat loss, and then we promote these things that are not necessarily going to be in your best interest, and also then don't necessarily achieve the fat loss result you were trying to achieve in the first place. So let's look at a couple of examples just to illustrate this to you. So fat burners already mentioned, I'm not going to talk much about them, they're just crap, don't worry about them, don't buy them, waste the money. But let's look at things that actually technically burn more fat. So low carb diets and keto diets actually do result in more fat oxidation. Because there's less carbs going on, you're consuming less carbs, there's probably less carbs in glycogen, like in the carbohydrate stores in your muscles and liver, your body will burn more fat as a percentage of your total burn. Now keep in mind, your body never just burns fat or burns carbs or burns this. Like your body is not gonna survive that way. Like if we would not have survived as a species, if we could only use one fuel source at a time. So your body's always burning a different percentage of all those fuels. But during something like a keto diet, where it's mostly, your carbs are pretty much fully restricted, then yes, there's gonna be more fat burning. There's gonna be more breakdown of body fats. However, when there's more breakdown of body fat, there's going to be more storage of body fat. Okay, it's not like you break down fats and then it can't go anywhere and it's like, and runs away from your body. That's not how it works. And this is especially exemplified if you are in a calorie surplus while you are doing so. Just because you're burning more fat, if you're in a calorie surplus, you're going to be storing even more fat and actually gain weight. Now, if you're in maintenance, you're going to be burning more fat and you're going to be storing more fat, but you're going to stay at the same thing. But of course, if you are in a deficit and you're burning more fat, well, you're going to lose more fat, but it's because of the calorie deficit, not because you're burning more fat. Because if that was the case, well, then no matter what your calories were, you'd be getting rid of more fat. So keep that in mind. Now, another example is fasted cardio. So fasted cardio has been touted as, better for fat loss because it helps more fat burn. And yes, technically speaking, you could be burning more fat because you're starting fasted. Maybe your glycogen stores aren't, fully filled up, so to speak, and perhaps you're not having any foods, obviously, so you're not getting any carbs in. So your body's gonna be like, okay, we'll burn more fat, especially if it's a more steady state one where you're not having to go into anaerobic capacity. Those sort of things may result in more fat burning. But the same applies as the other one with keto as well. If you're not in a deficit, you're still not going to be achieving fat loss. Fat burning does not equal fat loss unless you have the other caveat, which is calorie deficit. So there you go. Now you know that fat burning is what it is and that it is different to fat loss, even though with fat loss, you would have had to obviously have burned some fat to achieve that. But it's not that one is the same. It's not like one equals the other. You have to focus on your calories at the end of the day still. So the fundamental truth still stays that calorie in, calorie out will determine what your body composition is achieved. So if you want to achieve fat loss, you've got to be in a calorie deficit. If you are in a calorie surplus, but you're on a dietary plan or exercise routine that actually technically oxidizes and burns more fat, it's just going to be storing more fat if you're not in a calorie deficit. More oxidation, more storage. Depending on your calories will dictate what your body composition change will actually be. Now, I know I've thrown a lot of information at you, so if you need to just watch this video again, just repeat it, just kind of understand the differences. There is also a blog post if you want. I'll put it in the description notes below. I've written a blog post if you prefer to look at it in writing, just to get your mind around this, grasp this concept, because you want to know the difference between fat burning and fat loss so that you don't fall victim to fad diets and BS marketing that says do this because it's fat burning and therefore you're going to achieve your fat loss results, which may not actually be the case. So that's it. That's all you need to know about fat burning versus fat loss. We've also talked about the difference between weight loss and fat loss, so you can understand even the more nitty-gritty differences when it comes to your overall mass change, your body composition change, because it's not just always about fat loss. You now know that fat burning is fat oxidation in essence, which is the breakdown of fatty acids, but now you also know that calories still dictate whether that fatty oxidation actually leads to fat storage or whether it leads to more fat loss because you are potentially in a calorie deficit, which is what's needed to lose weight. So what I want you to know is if there's any questions about this, if something's confused you or you've got some questions around this, please share them in the comments below. Okay, drop it in the comments below or let me know what your specific goals around body fat is. How are you going with that? Drop it in the comments below. Let's have a chat. If this video has been informative, hit the like button, okay? Show this video some love so I know that it's helped you. Until next time, stay safe, stay classy. I'll talk to you soon. Have a good one.